This week on Inside Boulder News, City Council approves the 2015 budget. Local apartment complexes and condos increase composting and recycling thanks to a zero-waste outreach program. And the annual Munchkin Masquerade takes over Pearl Street on Halloween. Welcome to Inside Boulder News. I'm Ashley Prill. City Council approved the 2015 budget for the City of Boulder this week. This year's budget began to take shape last January when Council identified priorities for the city in its annual retreat. From there, staff worked to align resources with programs and services that reflected those priorities.
We've been hearing what the community and what Council has said along the way. We also take a look at the annual community survey that happens, and we look at the items that the public have identified as high priorities, and we try to make sure that the budget addresses those as well.
Before approving it, Council reviewed the budget in a study session and 2 readings that included public hearings. The budget for next year emphasizes flood recovery and infrastructure improvements, the continued pursuit of a city-owned electric utility, public safety, University Hill, and other core services. We'll begin to see the effects of the new budget in about 2 months.
We have official legal appropriation to spend money starting on January 1st of 2015. And we have a planned program, and that program is detailed in the budget document, and the budget that's online for everyone to see what we're going to do with the money that we collect here at the City of Boulder, tax revenues and so forth, and how we're going to spend those.
You'll find past year's budgets as well as the initial recommended 2015 budget at bouldercolorado.gov/budget. The final budget that was approved this week will be posted by January 1st. A partnership between the City of Boulder, EcoCycle, and Western Disposal Services is successfully helping residents at local apartment complexes and condos reduce their waste. The city's goal is to keep more than 85% of the community's waste out of the landfill by recycling, reusing, and composting.
This project was initiated because within the City of Boulder, multifamily units, so condominiums and apartments, actually have the lowest diversion rate of all the sectors of our community. So for example, multifamily units are recycling and composting about 21% of their waste on average, whereas single family homes are recycling and composting closer to 48% of their waste. So peer-to-peer we found is the most effective, and that's why we have our resident zero waste champions. And those are folks that are already dedicated to recycling and composting and already very knowledgeable about it. And having somebody who's a part of a community and able to reach out to their neighbors and share that information with their neighbors, it's more effective than having somebody from the city or somebody from EcoCycle.
I've composted for a long time. We lived in Germany in the 90s. And Germany's always kind of been on the forefront. So in 1990, I was composting and recycling, had very little trash, and then we moved back to the US where things were a little different. When we moved to Boulder, it surprised me we didn't have composting. So when the property manager mentioned this program was starting, I volunteered. And the first thing we did was change recycling pickup to twice a week and trash to once a week, which helped us tremendously and just looked better as a complex because suddenly we didn't have cardboard boxes everywhere. So composting is really easy. They gave us all a container, and then my building captains have extra containers to pass out to new people as they move in. Currently the compost is picked up once a week, but we're already getting ready to go to twice a week because we have so much compost. And then I tell people that if you have really smelly compost stuff that you don't want to keep under your sink, I pop mine in my freezer. The best part about it for me is seeing empty dumpsters and empty trash cans. And I know that we have so much less going to landfills.
It's been very successful. So our model MFU, Hunter Creek, has maintained its diversion rate of 63%, and the remaining 4 MFUs have all managed to increase their diversion rate by anywhere between 4% and 16%. So that's a big improvement and something for residents to be really proud of. The city is looking forward to continuing to invest in innovative zero waste programs like this one as the community continues to evaluate best strategies for moving towards our zero waste future.
To share your input or learn more about how Boulder is working to become a zero waste community, visit zerowasteboulder.com. This week, the Dairy Center for the Arts joined the celebration of the Month of Modern by showcasing the art of spray painting. Month of Modern is an effort to spotlight Colorado's modern architecture, design, lifestyle, art, and culture. In addition to showing a documentary about British graffiti artist Banksy, the dairy wanted to give patrons a different perspective on spray paint.
We also invited an artist who is taking the medium of spray paint, which we know as it's used in graffiti, and elevating it to another level. He may very well be the only fine art spray paint artist in the country. I know of no others. His name is Tyrone Webb. He lives in Westminster, and I met him when the Boulder Art Association had a group exhibit here this fall. He does kind of futuristic realism. I think I just coined that term, but I think it describes his work really well.
We wanted to juxtapose the concept of Banksy's actual counterculture movement of graffiti, and then what I like to call a culture movement of using spray paint to make fine art. So that's actually what I've been doing for the last 3 days, is coming out here and sitting in the front yard and basically spraying out this piece. I would really like to see people legitimize this as a form of fine art, so that way people's kids and other people out there who are thinking about doing it can actually feel like there is a place for this, and I've seen somebody turn it into something, so now I can too. So I'd really like to see that happen.
The dairy's art galleries are free and open to the public daily. For information about upcoming exhibits, visit thedairy.org. To learn more about Tyrone Webb and his fine spray paint art, visit finespraypaintart.com. Pearl Street is known for its unique characters year-round, but this Friday, superheroes, princesses, wild animals, and unearthly creatures will return for the annual Munchkin Masquerade.
Over 70 downtown businesses are participating this year with the Munchkin Masquerade, handing out treats, which they pay for entirely themselves. In the last couple of years, it's been extremely popular. We tell businesses now that they should get in the neighborhood of 3,000 pieces of candy. So there are a couple of different ways you can enjoy the Munchkin Masquerade. Trick-or-treating on the Pearl Street Mall is a really popular one. We have a lot of activities out on the mall. Keep in mind that Broadway is still open, so they have to be really careful when they're crossing the streets. Another great way to participate in Munchkin Masquerade is to look for the treat stops on the east ends and west ends of the mall. A lot of those folks do really fun activities for the kids. Ramble on Pearl on the East End is going to have a cornhole competition with prizes. Hotel Boulderado has a haunted lobby that's really fun to go and explore. So there's lots of ways to participate in and enjoy the Munchkin Masquerade.
The Downtown Boulder Munchkin Masquerade will take place on Halloween from 3 to 6 p.m. To check out the participating treat stops ahead of time, visit munchkinmasquerade.com. Speaking of Halloween, the Boulder Police Department wants everyone to enjoy the holiday safely. They recommend paying close attention to traffic, or if you're driving, watch for kids in the street, dressing kids in bright clothing to be more visible to drivers, and trick-or-treating in familiar neighborhoods. This year, there's also an added emphasis on monitoring treats.
Nowadays, we have an added problem with marijuana edibles, and they look and for all intents and purposes smell and probably taste a lot like a regular chocolate chip cookie or brownie or whatever it may be. They can cause some serious health problems if ingested by kids or even by adults if they eat too much of it. So I would never recommend taking anything that's not pre-made, manufactured and wrapped, unless you're really familiar and assured that the person that's giving it to you is someone you can trust, a friend or a neighbor.
Thank you for watching Inside Boulder News. Stay in touch with us on Facebook and Twitter by submitting news tips and questions. You can also sign up to receive video updates right in your inbox. Just go to boulderchannel8.com and click on subscribe.